Can I get that chair drop again?
Sure.
Because that was the sound in Mike Tomlin's office today as he fired his offensive coordinator, Matt Canada.
Long time coming.
It is a long time coming, but there's a question regarding the franchise I have for you based off what I read today. The reports indicated that Rooney, the owner, fired Canada and not Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin sounded very angry today when he spoke to the media, but he was also asked, did the players find out? He says, well, he confirmed he didn't tell the team they're not in today, and they found out through the media. My question for you is there something bigger happening in Pittsburgh? If the owner's stepping over the head coach's head and firing a guy, and then you don't tell your team?
Yeah, no, it's not the Steeler way, is what I would say to you. That's stuff that happens in places like Dallas or Miami. That is not how Pittsburgh does business. Now, if we're talking football, look, man, you've been outgained in every game. And you're this deep into the season. My problem is Canada might be bad, but so are your pieces. The offensive line's terrible. Kenny Pickett is terrible. The better running back is the guy you found at Kmart, Jaylen Warren. He's better than Najee Harris. David, it's just you've been living a charmed life. Canada had to go, but is it really going to fix anything? That's my question to you.
It won't. It's too late. Kenny Pickett's still there. Doesn't matter. Let's talk about another team. They played last night, the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost a game that you said earlier. They were up 17-7 at halftime. But the problem here may be a little deeper with the Kansas City Chiefs because they haven't scored in the second half in 3 straight games. And they lead the league in drops. Can this team repeat like this?
No, not playing this way. Look, the positives, they put about 170 yards on the ground against Philly, who's got the number 1 rush defense in football. They controlled the game. They won the line of scrimmage. They should have won the game. But they lead the league in drops, and last night they dropped no less than 7 passes, including Valdez-Scantling, what would have been a game winner. Series before, a critical 3rd and 4, an open drop. Even the last play of the game on 4th and forever, another drop. David, you're not going to win playoff games. A singular drop can be a turnover in a playoff game. So it has to get better, or my answer is no.
Well, speaking of has to get better, I think this team made the right move, but made it too late. The Jets have benched Zach Wilson. I'm not saying Tim Boyle is going to be the answer here, but why wait this late to make this move when you could have traded for a quarterback?
Well, they didn't want to. A, you invested the number 2 overall pick 2 years ago. B, Aaron Rodgers keeps talking about magic mushrooms and coming back this season. The reality is you make this move. You know what the Jets really ought to do? They should release Zach Wilson because you're never going to be able to put him out there in front of the home fans again.
Well, he's the 3rd-string quarterback for that reason probably.
Yeah, but my point is, David, he shouldn't be on the team. It's over. It's done. Release the kid. He can never play for that franchise again. And Tim Boyle, whatever, man. All the Jet fans clamoring, okay, Tim Boyle can't be worse than Zach. Take it from somebody who watched him in Detroit. Sure he can. They're all bad.
Well, speaking of should never play for that franchise again, well, the Indianapolis Colts have released Shaquille Leonard. He said goodbye on Instagram and Twitter this morning. The news came out shortly after that he was being released, but it's over. His career's done, right? He's never going to play again for anyone.
No.
Yeah.
David, there was talk he was going to retire before the season. One of the most mercurial rises we've ever seen.
It's never the same after the injury.
No, and he walked into the league and became arguably one of the 3 or 4 best middle linebackers in all of football, a tackling machine, a supercomputer. And it's, David, I'm surprised the news didn't happen over the summer.
Agreed. So I think that these are probably the worst type of NFL fans. Justin Jefferson had to respond on Twitter to fantasy football fans. Basically, they're upset that he's not playing because the news came out that he could have played, but he did not come off the IR, did not play this past weekend, and they are bombarding him in his DMs, he said. And he's like, look, my health is more important long-term than your fantasy football season. Is that the worst football fan you think it is? You think there is?
No, that'd be a Michigan fan.
Okay.
Yeah, fantasy guys.
Like DMing a player?
Yeah,
Come
fantasy
on,
guy is an annoyance. No question about it.
Like, we don't
an
need
annoyance of the highest order.
So Tom Brady made some statements on the Stephen A. Smith show, and I want to know if you agree with them. Quote, I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past. He says, I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. I don't think the schemes are as good as they were either. Do you agree with him on today's NFL?
There are elements of it I do. But I also, look, I'd argue Tom played in the most mediocre division for the majority of his career. I mean, think about it. Buffalo, Miami, New England, and the Jets were largely nothing more than New England every year had a 6-0 start. It was the AFC East. I just don't like the idea you retire and now you go, well, in the good old days, and it's like, dude, you retired last year. I don't know that I need that comment today.
And that is very fair. So let's close it out with this here. And I want to touch on, we're going to jump ahead to the NFL draft for a quick minute.
Okay.
Because going into the season, Caleb Williams was looked at as the no doubt number one QB in the 2024 draft. Has the race tightened as the year has gone on?
For me, it has. But I'm always careful to remind myself. The last time I saw something like this, it was Sam Howell. When Sam Howell went back to UNC, he had lost his top two receivers and his entire O-line. And he spent his last year at UNC getting battered. And you go, what, did he forget how to play football, or is it the O-line? Now you see Sam Howell. Look, the Commanders may have found their guy. With Caleb, it's the same thing. That offensive line is, outside of Colorado, it might be the second worst. It's awful. And I do wonder, like, openly, maybe it's a sign of how good he is that he's been even able to take it this far. If you watch a USC game,
that's fair. Nothing
is on schedule or on platform because he has no time. Plus, he plays for a team that's going to give up 40 every week. Their problems on defense are terminal. So I'm not ready. David, he's still the number one guy. Drake May has not had some great year.
Correct.
Do you know who's actually risen up the board for me?
Penix?
No.
No, okay.
It's Jaden Daniels.
The guy that was not laughed at, but his teammates just kicked him to the curb at Arizona State.
But watch him at LSU.
Yeah.
And they have to score every possession because of that defense. He's a one-man army. I'm not telling you I'm taking him in the top 5. I'm just saying when we start to go, all right, Caleb and who? Is it nuts to go, man, maybe Daniels has an NFL future?
And there'll be a long time till the draft, but there'll be a lot of discussion about
recency bias. Watched him live this weekend. I know it's recency bias. David, watching him on TV is one thing. When you watch him live, he is so smooth, graceful. Throw into a shoebox, 50-yard touchdown. Next play, I'm making 7 guys miss, 50 yards using my legs. I just wonder.
To be fair, though, I'd rather have the recency bias. We go 7 months from when they play to then they're drafted.
You're right.
I want play on the field, and what I see now is what I'll have, with my opinion, come draft time.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that is in Football Today.